Hey gang, today we're going to talk about the tone curve in Lightroom. Now, this is one of the least understood parts of Lightroom, and it can be one of the most powerful tools once you get used to using it. So I'm going to go through, break it down, and afterwards we're going to apply it to this photo so that it'll look like this. The first thing you'll notice is that instead of a photo, I have this black and white gradient image set up. What I've found is this is a really good tool when trying to understand how the tone curve affects an image. So pay attention to it as we're going through the different things you can do with a tone curve. To open up the tone curve, you'll see it's right below the basic panel on the right hand side, and once we open it up, we're presented with a points curve. Now there's two types of curves, the points curve and the regions curve. To access the regions curve, we're going to click on that square in the bottom right hand corner of the tone curve panel. If you're new to using a tone curve, this is a good area to start. It's very simple, very straightforward. There's only a few things you can adjust. So the first thing that you'll notice is the tone curve is broken up into 4 regions. You have your shadows, your darks, your lights, and your highlights. So if we look at our graph, you'll notice there's a diagonal line running across it. This is our baseline, and as we move the sliders below, it will affect this baseline. As we slide them to the right, it will raise the baseline. It will also lighten our gradient image. If we move the sliders to the left, it will lower the baseline and it will darken our gradient image. Now, this is important to keep in mind when we get into the points curve, because the points curve will act the same way as this region curve will. So let's go ahead and jump back into our points curve, and we're going to click again on the square in the bottom right hand corner. To add points to the points curve, we simply click once. To delete points, we click twice. To move these points, simply click and drag any direction that you want. Now, the most common way to use a tone curve is what's called an S curve, and we set that up by putting a point in our darks, a point in our midtones, and a point in our lights. Next, we take our lights and we drag it slightly up, and then we go to our darks and we drag it slightly down. Now what this S curve does is it adds contrast into your image. Below the tone curve, you'll see channel, and next to that, RGB. If you click on that, you'll see red, green, and blue. These are our individual color channels. And what we can do with these is we can add colors to specific regions, or we can take colors out of specific regions. And just to demonstrate, we'll take the reds and we'll lower the highlights, and you'll see that you're left with greens and blues. And the same goes for the greens. Now we're left with blues and reds. And when we go to the blues, we're left with greens and reds. Now you may be wondering, why should I ever mess with these color channels? And they actually can help add a specific tone or color tone to your photo. And you'll actually see when we get into editing the photo that I've taken, we're going to add this steel blue color to it, and we're going to do that using the color channels. Now, let's go back to our RGB channel, and let's look at the section below channel called point curve. When you click on that, you'll see you have linear, medium contrast, and strong contrast. These are preset tone curves, and I've found that medium contrast is a really good starting point. So let's go ahead and click on medium contrast, and you can see that our graph automatically turns into a medium contrast S curve. Alright, so hopefully you guys have a better understanding of what you're looking at in the tone curve, because now we're going to jump in and we're going to start editing our photo. Here's our photo, and you'll notice we are starting out with a linear curve. So the first thing I'm going to do is go down and apply a medium contrast curve. Next, we're going to delete this point down here because I don't like to use it. Now, that's my own personal preference, and you can leave it in there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our shadows and we're going to raise it slightly. Now what this will do is it will eliminate any true black from the photo, and it kind of gives it a slightly film looking vibe, especially in those darker regions. Next, we'll move up the line to our darks, and I'm going to lower these just a little bit. Now, we're going to skip midtones and we're going to go to our lights, and we're going to raise that a little bit. So we've just added a lot more contrast into our photo, and you can see that because I'll turn the tone curve off and now I'm going to turn it back on. Now we're going to look at our midtones, and what I'll do here is I'll move it up a little bit and I'll move it down a little bit, and looking at this, I kind of like it in the middle, so we're actually going to leave it alone. If you guys recall earlier, I said I was going to add a blue tone to this photo using the channel colors. Now we're going to do that. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our reds and we're going to lower the highlights just a little bit. Next we're going to go to our greens, and again we're going to lower the highlights just a little bit. You can see how we've got a nice steel cool blue tone going on throughout this photo. Alright, one last time I'm going to turn the tone curve off and we're going to turn it back on, and you can see the impact and how powerful this section of Lightroom can be when you're editing your photos. The last thing I want to say to you guys about the tone curve is it's all personal preference. So get in there, mess with all the sliders, all the settings, try things out, and see what works best for you. I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more, hit subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.